Okay, so I want to talk about one thing, which is Overwatch's relative scope sensitivity setting for Widowmaker and Ana and how it's flawed in my mind. Um, so basically, in Overwatch, Widowmaker and Ana both have a setting called relative scope sense. What this does is tune your sensitivity while scoped based on the number that you set it to relative to your base in-game sens. It's nothing new. Many other FPS titles have had something like it or it exactly, but those titles also have something called ratio, so which you could just set to. I think I'm not a CS:GO player, but I think in Source Engine games or CS:GO you could set it to 1. It could be mistaken. I looked around and a lot of people recommended setting TF2 or CS:GO or CS, any of the Source Engine games, to 0.833 or to 2.222. Now I don't play any of those games, and I don't have anybody on hand that I can talk to that would inherently know that. But I did go into CS and tested out 0.833, and that felt basically like my regular unscoped CS sensitivity. So that is what I'm putting in the video. I have ran no real tests for it aside from it felt as close or just like my unscoped sense in that particular game. Really quick. Actually, we can just go into training. What am I doing? Okay, I clearly do this a lot. Wow. So, pick Widow.
One shot.
Sorry if that's a little bit loud. Go down here, you see that its default is 30. 30 is nothing like here. I'll do one mousepad swoop. Unscoped. So I play on a pretty low sense. That's one mousepad. Okay, I play on 800 3.5. On 30, when I'm scoped in, this is a mousepad swoop. So that is my biggest possible flick with my mousepad and sensitivity. Now this is very, very low. So my wave, so the furthest I can flick without picking up my arm. So if you're familiar with CS or any other game, waving is the furthest I can flick, like I said, without picking up my arm, just by moving my wrist. So the wave of my wrist. So I could be here with my wrist cocked left, and I can make it all the way here until my wrist can't go any further right. Okay? So that's a pretty low sense, and at a very high tier of competitive play. Muscle memory means everything.
Double kill.
It's very, very important. The entire idea behind flicking, and I'll show you on McCree. The entire idea behind flicking, the aim style that is flicking, is that you have a snapshot, and Surefox explained it in a video one time, but you basically have a snapshot of where your target is in your mind and where you want to shoot, right? So I'm tracking this person, I want to hit their head. But with the movement in Overwatch, how there is no acceleration, there's simply velocity. The movement is very sporadic, and good players will they'll often have good movement, making them harder to hit. So the faster you flick, the better, so long as you can maintain accuracy. Which is where muscle memory comes in. Because if you're going to flick as fast as you can, you don't have time to wait to see if your crosshair is over the target, right? That would potentially ruin everything. And obviously, my McCree aim is totally never miss, haha. You see what I'm saying? Now, if you can't maintain 1-to-1 scope sense on Widowmaker, or Ana for that matter, they become the hardest heroes to flex to from another hero, from particularly Hitscan, simply because you don't take your muscle memory with you. There is no way, no official way at least, to maintain 1-to-1 scope sense, to maintain that same muscle memory that you have in Overwatch while you're scoped in. Which is why so many Widow players will flex to other roles, and you'll see them miss so many shots for the first little while of playing the hero, maybe the first life or two. And the reason being is because they're not used to that sensitivity. They're not used to having to move their mouse that much or that little, depending on what their scope sense is.
Double kill.
But what if there was 1-to-1? What if we didn't have to compromise? What if we just had a way, like most other FPS games have a way, to maintain our sensitivity no matter what we're doing in the game? Scoped in, unscoped, etc. It doesn't make sense for this big of an FPS title with $1 billion esports league to have something where you are essentially being punished for playing Widowmaker Ana. You want to flex out of the hit scan. Because that aim doesn't get carried.
Double kill.
Sure, I guess your style of aim or the premise of aiming, sure, you can pick it up playing whatever with whatever sense, right? And there are some players that seemingly have no problem with this, that they're able to flex from Widow to McCree to Soldier to any hit scan in the game and have it not affect them almost at all. But I guarantee that those players somewhere in their mind are thinking, and they have to make note of the fact that, yes, I'm changing and I have to adjust the way, how I'm moving my mouse. There are a lot of people who have said 35, 38, 44, 42, 50, and 0 are all 1-to-1. Yeah. I'll include in the description a Reddit thread and an Imgur album, or Imager or whatever, of small study that a guy did on Reddit, obviously, of what exactly is the closest you can get to 1-to-1 scope sense. And what he found was that 38, when moving small distances, which is what Widowmaker normally does, well, most Widows normally do, when moving small distances was not 1-to-1, but it was as close as you could get, was within a few pixels. But again, that's only for small distances, so that's for like microflicks and things like that. And you'll see it's very detailed. There's an Imgur album, like I said before, that you'll be able to view. And credit to him for that.
Double kill.
But it needs to be addressed. Blizzard's not, from what I know, from the 10 or 15 forum threads that I stumbled upon regarding this topic, they've not addressed it at all. I think there was a blue post explaining exactly what... Blue post? Come here, dude. Explaining exactly what scope sensitivity was relative, but it didn't actually explain what 1-to-1 is in the game or if it exists. Milo. My dog's freaking out. So this is a very long-winded video, as normal with me when I'm talking about these sort of things. I didn't write a script for this. But I'd like it to be addressed. And I think there are a lot of players who would like this to be addressed. Almost every other game has a very clear-cut way of getting 1-to-1 scope sense. Why don't we?